colonial.
This is Eagle Country 105.7 WCUPFM, Baraga, Houghton, Hancock. It's that time again to turn the radio station over to Indigenous Insights. Indigenous Insights is Eagle Radio's weekly Native American program. You'll hear all kinds of great music, all genres, all native. You'll also keep in touch with Indian country. Now here's this week's Indigenous Insights.
Ani, bonjour. Welcome to this week's edition of Indigenous Insights, right here on Eagle Country 105.7. This is Eagle Radio's weekly Native American program. We're on the air every Saturday at high noon, right between those two cowboys. This is your host, Mitch, in the studio with you. I have a guest. He's been on the show quite a few times here over the past couple of months, but he's actually in the studio with us now. Nishmaster Kenn Pitawanakwat. Bonjour, Ken.
Ani, bonjour, Mitch.
You know, I'm honored you took the trip all the way down just to see me, eh?
Well, I had to go through several moose portages, and then canoe, and then frozen lakes and ice, and finally got on the highway, and then crossed the international bridge to be here, Mitch. That's over a couple of days.
Wow, you know, I mean, I know my company. It's you know, it's nice to be around me, but that's dedication right there.
It's your enthusiasm, Mr. Mitch Bolo. Your enthusiasm for the language, enthusiasm for our history. We have a rich and proud history, just me and you, and the work we've done over the years. And how many years has it been, by the way? Jeez.
2008, 2009 is when I first started going to the language classes there at Northern. So it's been quite a long time. And you know what? I'm going to say it's just the beginning of the journey, too. I'm going to go ahead and say that right now.
Oh, man. It keeps getting richer, doesn't it?
It's
some of the things that we're doing now, the projects we're working on, discussing, and so forth, and how far we've come, and the people we've met and continue to work with, and I'm sure the wonderful, good spirits that we're still going to meet along our trails. You know, that's
absolutely,
awesome.
Absolutely, and you know, it's a very exciting time. We got a new year ahead of us. How do you have a good New Year's?
Well, I remember one time me and my wife, Lorraine, were sitting at 12 midnight, said, okay, we just wait for it. Good night, hon. Good night, hon. That was it. We went to bed or back to homework. No, that's when we were in university.
Oh.
That's how hard we worked. We always stayed home with the kids. So
these days you're snoring by 11, eh?
Yes.
All right. Well, Miigwech for being here. Very good to see you again. We have some stuff to talk about here tonight. Your memoir is now out. It's available.
Yes, it's out on the World Wide Web. KennPitawanakwat.com is where you can purchase it.
That's right. We'll have that posted to our Facebook page. That's Kenn, Kenn, Pitawanakwat.com. And we'll post to the Facebook page. But when it comes to the niche words, I mean, you just sound it out.
Easy for us, isn't it?
Yeah, you just sound it out.
I think there's people that find it a little bit more challenging than us.
I suppose so. So, you know, it's always just, you know, lighthearted, and it's always great to see about this memoir. It takes on a serious note. It's a serious point in your life. You've been on something, I don't even know how to really phrase it, an unfortunate journey in your life.
Yes.
You've had a hurdle. And this is your memoir. It's called When My Son Died. And we're going to get into the music here for just a little bit, you know, bring some music up, some good feelings, and then we're going to talk a little bit about this memoir of yours, and we'll kind of get into it, because an incredible thing to share with people.
Yes, it's incredibly revealing and private, and it's changed people's lives. Some people have gotten back to me, and they wish they had the information earlier.
Yeah, I mean,
it's
crazy how it's a book. I mean, it's a book, but it carries so much with it. It's just, and we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about it here in just a little bit on Indigenous Insights. But let's play some music first.
No.
All right, here's some Northern Cree for you on Indigenous Insights. A crow hop.
No.
got some Bear Creek for you here on Indigenous Insights, Eagle Radio's weekly Native American program. That was from St. Croix, that's in Wisconsin, 2014, some good powwow tunes. This is Indigenous Insights, Eagle Radio's weekly Native American program. In the studio with us, I have Kenn Pitawanakwat. Now, I met Ken back in, we were talking, 2008, 2009, around there. Mm-hmm. And when I first met you, you were employed at Northern Michigan University as the language instructor, yes. And I just joined your class. Mm-hmm. And it was the first time I ever heard the Ojibwe language spoken in a fluent manner, and instantly I knew that, I'm not saying anything about age or anything, but I knew I had found an elder that mm-hmm. has that wisdom and whatnot, and a lot of times elders have that wisdom. It's because they've walked that path. It's no lie, or how do I say this? We can't deny that you've had quite the hurdle here on your path. It's something that nobody should ever have to deal with. And I think it's something that you've had to deal with so much later in your life. I mean, it's crazy, Ken. I'm telling you right now, all this is crazy. You have your memoir out. It's called When My Son Died, and your son had a very unfortunate snowmobile accident, right?
That's correct.
And let's go to that first of all. What actually happened with your son?
Well, he was a passenger in a snowmobile up north in Yukon, Canada, and this was going on 2 years now, almost, April 18th. He was a passenger and was just a dumb little drop in the terrain, and the skidoo snowmobile flipped, and his friend survived and he did not. So, and then I got the call the next morning, and I was out in Wisconsin with my other boy, and so as a result of that, my life just changed.
Okay. So you mean one of the things, and I don't know really how to explain the way I'm feeling. I guess what I'm feeling is because I have a boy now, and he is 1 year and 2 months, and I've spent the last 1 year and 2 months worrying about keeping this kid alive. I mean, I can't even imagine, and your boy was 38 years old, eh?
That's correct.
I mean, what's it like when, raising someone like that, and they leave the home, and, there's in their life established and stuff? I mean, does it still feel like you lost that little boy, even at that age?
Yes, because there's so many things, and I could have said, I should have said, I would have said, had I known I was going to lose him at 38, but I didn't because of my own inadequacies, and which I describe broadly and deeply in my book. I guess what I would tell you, Mitch, is hug your children, love your children, express that love to your children in words and actions. I was talking about earlier how we would stay home on New Year's Eve and not be out on Times Square type of deal, whatever, hooping it up. We had children we were responsible for. So we stayed home and concentrate on our task, which is over time raising our kids. So we've never left our kids at home. So I think about all the good things we did. So that's the good things. But the book goes on to describe in great detail of all the other things that where Ken could have done a really, really better job. So for now, hang on to your kids, because you don't know how long. I don't know how long I'm going to be around. And never mind my kids. It's just we take life for granted. We always say, "Oh, I'll do it later."
Yeah.
That later was too late.
There's no such thing as later. There's
no
only right now.
Later. There's only right now.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and say that at New Year's, I kind of wish the kids had let me stay home. I went and played hockey with our boys at the hockey night, and they ran me ragged. I'd rather be home sleeping in bed.
Being out with your kids, that's awesome. That's the way.
Yeah,
that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But I'm talking about the regular.
Absolutely. Okay, so the accident, and that's what we'll call it. It was an accident. It was an unfortunate accident. It sounds like it was just a very quick. It was very quick.
Yes.
All of a sudden, you're just like tripping. You trip on the snow and it's over, like that's that right. Accident. So was it the manner of how quick it happened is what affected you? Or is it your guys' past relationship what got this memoir up and going?
It's all of the above. It's all of the above. I've written on the back jacket, parents should not have to bury their children. I wrote this. A father's life is devastated as he as he fights to heal with Aboriginal language and ceremony. So I wrote this on the back of the jacket. I wrote the whole book. Mind you, I worked with an editor. But it's just the finality. I think that's what it is. It's final. There's no tomorrow, as we were saying. There's no tomorrow. It's too late. Do it now. Say it now. Act now.
Okay.
Hug now. Love now. Kiss now. Whatever. You're never too old to kiss your adult children.
Yeah. Okay. So it was probably, I mean, just how quick it had happened. I mean, because that's what a lot of, and I don't know how really to say that. I mean, I don't know your son, and a lot of families, especially in Native America, we have way too much death as it is.
Yes, it is.
I'm not sure of the history of your son, but like I've lost family members where we think, and I'm not trying to push anything, like we think something's going to get them, and that something is a demon of some sort, which might be imbibed, drank, and then they get away from that, and then something else gets them. I mean, did you have to put up with any of that? I mean, from either your end or your son? Was there problems like that?
Well, broadly speaking, yes. Let's just say yes. Details are outlined with great specifics throughout the narrative. So it comes from a cultural viewpoint where, according to my reviewer, in her words by Emily Bell, raw, honest, and unafraid. So this is where she describes me in my book.
Yeah.
When My Son Died is a story of a man's deepest loss, written in the tongue of his own cultural grief. It is a visceral look into a man's pain and his fight to thrive. So, thanks to Emily Bell, she's the author of the Schutte trilogy. I was language consultant to her book. So she was kind enough to read my painful history. So
I'm kind of like, what I'm getting at here is, it kind of seems like how do I want to say this? How much of this is affected by intergenerational trauma?
Oh, all of it.
All of it. That's what I'm kind of getting at.
Oh, yes, all of it.
Like you talk about hugging your kids now, and being there for your family now. Yes. And Rodney Lunsford, who's just in the studio, he's from Fatherhood is Sacred, and it's all about bringing that family back together, because the point of our lives and our culture back in the day was the family. So, like, I didn't get to read the book yet, but it seems like you wanted to say a lot of things. And do you think that you didn't say those things because of that intergenerational trauma that's carried throughout?
That's described fully within my particular circumstance, and we're not scared to name the beast or beasts as they are. And so yes, intergenerational trauma from 150 plus years of boarding home syndrome and residential school, which is what it's called in Canada. Excuse me, and then 500 years of genocide, which I cover in the book. Okay. So yes, it's definitely, evidently described.
So this book right here is, I mean, this is a conversation I've had on this show quite a few times. People talk about today and they say, well, why don't they get over it? Everything happened so long ago. Why don't they get over it? But that intergenerational trauma right here, this book is a photograph into what intergenerational trauma can do. I mean, although the accident itself wasn't a result of it, I don't think. I mean, I'm not really sure of the circumstances, but it seems like the way that you and your boy interacted through all your life, and now that this accident has happened, it seems like
the medicine wheel is interconnected to everything that we are or not. So the medicine wheel, one spoke of that, speaks to this event that we're describing over here, and but certainly the outside hoop of that, or the wheel of that wheel, is part of the alpha omega, the beginning and the end. So, and it's always moving. It's never static. It's never just sitting there. It's always evolving, changing, and sometimes it's not very good. So I always tell people, I've joined the club that I never asked to belong to.
Yep.
Parents who have lost their children, parents who have buried their children. And all I'm doing is telling my story. And I don't claim to know the answers, nor do I claim that I was the only one or will ever be the only one to lose a child. That's not what I'm saying. But this is my story, and maybe somebody will get something out of it. So,
Well, I think absolutely. I mean, starting a dialogue, not being scared to talk about the beasts, as you say, I mean, that's the point. You get it out there and you kind of heal. I mean, we have your story for you as an individual. You got it out because you knew that would be healing for you.
well, I wouldn't go that far.
No?
That's being generous. Thank you.
Okay.
I still am not sure I would go with that form that it's been healing. My primary objective at the time was to say all the things to my boy that I should have said right now, and it was my wife that told me, "Hey, write to him, write a letter to him." So basically, that's what this book is: just a letter, an open letter to him, and it's God, all the idiosyncrasies I did not want for him, and all the good qualities I wanted for him, and in great detail, and then it also describes what happened thereafter, soon after, and how I got off prescription drugs, for example, at the casket. So,
Oh, wow.
so it goes into a lot of cultural material that I was brought up on, where I asked and I announced at the wake that if you have any ailments or issues in your personal life, and if you want to ask Shannon, my boy, there's the time before they close the casket. So I was there the whole time with him, the open casket, and how we do it on the res is like it's open 24/7. Well, not for 7, but 24 hours a day. People can come and go. So it was in a community center of his home community, Serpent River First Nation, Ontario, Canada. Shannon Miigwech was his name. And he's a beautiful physical specimen of a human being, but he also had the brains, and he had the acute intellect that to question, to observe, and announce whatever he saw at that moment, and he was quite happy in the mountains. So it just happened in the mountains at the top of, say, up top of the Rockies, if you will.
Yeah.
The Canadian version, and so he was in Whitehorse, Yukon. So he was in a place where he was happy, and he was happy that night that he went. I'm sure he was. You know, he was a joker. He was the life of the group, the life of the party, life of anywhere he went. He had a ready smile, and he was quick-witted, and we spent a lot of hours together. And he was nature's child. He could converse with the birds. His creatures were the birds. And there's photographs of him with birds just sitting on top of his hand or his shoulder out while they're out winter camping, for example. And he grew up in the traditional ways of giving thanks to the spirits and the entities that reside all around us that many of us have forgotten. So there's pictures of him in the book. So I have pictures included in there.
Yeah, I've seen some pictures. I appreciate pictures for people with my reading abilities. But I also see some young pictures of what now is a veteran snagger in the world, huh? Some young pictures of Kenn in here. Some of the
Bolo.
I mean, oh, what?
You know, when my boy left, it's written on the back jacket of the book. There's a picture of me and him and Spiker Pete, the doggy.
Spiker Pete?
Yeah. My work here is done. And he's quoted here. And I quote him. There's a picture, a color photograph of him with sunglasses up in the Yukon. Yeah. So his job here is done. On this earthly plane, this whatever you want to call it.
It was time.
It was time. And so I never got mad or angry at the creator or creation or anybody or at him it's just pain, pain, just grief, just constant sobbing. And, nobody likes to talk about this. Everybody wants to talk about the good stuff, joke stuff, and anything that'll help forget this type of stuff. But yeah, when you're talking about intergenerational trauma and the condition of our people, this is a regular occurrence in Native America, but it also transcends or goes into other cultures. If you just think about what's going on in America now with the Afghanistan situation, Iraq before that, Desert Storm, and then Vietnam, World War II, and so forth. All those parents that lost their children, and now in Canada, missing and murdered Indigenous women inquiry has begun, national, by the government. So when we're talking about intergenerational trauma, we're talking about my attitude towards women and my daughters, my mother, my grandmothers, and the men. So all that is just unafraid, I guess, as has been described. They're just described in great detail. I hold nothing back, and again, it was more for me. So again, going back, I don't think I started off as wanting to heal, and I'm not sure I am healed, whatever that is. But my life changed forever. I'll never be the same, and it's a painful process. It's nothing that you never ever want for anybody ever. Not even use a cliche, your worst enemy ever.
Yeah. Well, we're all with you, Nishmaster Kenn. Miigwech for taking us on your journey with you. Once again, you can check out Kenn's memoir. It's called When My Son Died. He has a website, Kenn Pitawanakwat. Sound it out. Pitawanakwat. And we'll post that on our website. And just for one last quick plug for you to put with the book, who would you recommend buy this book?
Well, I don't know if I'd recommend it because it's painful. But going back to what people have said, people's responses, reviews, it's changed their lives, and they wish they had the book way back whenever.
Well, I'm going to go ahead and say it. I'm going to go ahead and stop you right there. I'm going to go ahead and say that I think anybody could get this book. It's about appreciating life and recognizing kind of what you have, and to make sure that there is now, there is no tomorrow, and that kind of thing. I mean, who doesn't need that lesson? I mean, so for somebody that might not, even if you don't have children at the moment, you have family that later on in life you might not have anymore, and you might realize like, wow, I could have made that relationship so much better. So I think this is a good lesson for many people. And we're going to take a quick break here. I would like to talk a little bit more about this. It says that you fight to heal with Aboriginal language and ceremony. We're going to talk.
Yes.
We'll talk a little bit more about that in just a bit. We also have Joe Schutte coming in the studio a little bit later. He is from the KBOCC. Classes are starting on Monday. He's going to be teaching culinary classes. I do believe Rodney Loonsfoot might be in the studio too. He's going to be here from Fatherhood is Sacred, which is, wow, I kind of wish we had him here with you right now, because that Fatherhood is Sacred they're doing some really amazing stuff when it comes to bringing fathers back into families. So, we'll keep you here for just a bit. Once again, Miigwech, Kenn, for being here. Let's get into music. We'll be back just after this on Indigenous. All right, this is Indigenous Insights, Eagle Radio's weekly Native American program. More powwow tunes. What you think, Ken?
Oh, I love powwow tunes anytime, anywhere. Mitch Bolo.
Oh, yeah. We got some powwow tunes here for you now. We'll play some blues a little bit later on in the show. Ken's in the studio with us, traveled all the way down from... Where were you? Where were you at?
A little community called Kingfisher Lake, Ontario. If you want to MapQuest, Google that.
Kingfisher.
You'll see it's middle of nowhere, flying community, no roads except for Winter Road, which they're building right now, I understand.
Oh, wow, okay. And Ken's here to talk about his memoir. We talked a bit about it a while ago. Actually, we talked quite a bit about it. Just a couple more questions I have on it. This is kind of going into what it says in the back here. I'll just read the back. Parents should not have to bury their children. A father's life is devastated as he fights to heal with Aboriginal language and ceremony. A lifetime of good works comes into question. Secrets are disclosed. Now, how did you use, for you, language? That's your first language. It's just automatic. And, the ceremony, it might be things that you grew up doing, but there might be people, some of my listeners, that don't have that and they want to heal. What kind of things, what did you do to heal? What is your protocol as somebody that grew up with this way of life to heal?
Yes, good question. But keep in mind that when I was going through this process, I'm 20 months later after the event, but immediately after, we began with a smudging a car in Wisconsin. We were at an outlet mall, of all places, when I got the phone call 9 o'clock that morning, and on a weekend. And so my boy Dave, my other son, was carrying a smudge stick of just plain old sage. And I was just numb already. I was already a mess. At this point, I was just struggling to hold everything together. So, smudge yourself, have somebody smudge you. He had the foresight to have that bring it. Now, I have my own medicine bundle, all kinds of stuff. That weekend, I wasn't carrying anything because I was on a weekend just touring, having fun with the kids, just driving around, and of course, I always carry my tobacco. But other than that, I wasn't carrying anything. The moment we got that news, we had that smudge. We pulled into a driveway, got off the interstate. We were on the interstate when I heard, and I'm deaf and hard of hearing, and I had to ask the mother to repeat the news. Shannon didn't make it. So we my boy who was driving at the time pulled into some driveway. The strange thing about that, Mitch, is it was a residence on that entire street. Not a car moved, not a dog barked, not a kitty was seen, not a person, not a pedestrian was around. It's like time stopped. And we were there like 20 minutes. And here I'm thinking in Wisconsin, oh boy, a bunch of Indians in the car, and and long hair, and then the next thing they see smoke coming out of there. Oh, they're doping up, with the smudge, right? They think that we're smoking up, right? And they says, oh gosh, next thing you know, we're gonna have cops over here, or somebody's gonna come out of their house because we're in somebody's driveway, and they're gonna start shooting Indians. And I said, they shoot Indians in Wisconsin, don't they? So I was worried about that during all this. Meanwhile, I'm trying to hold it together. And then next thing I did after when we got back to Marquette was I got on the phone and called one of my colleagues, medicine man back home, and I says I told him what happened, and I said Shannon Mewasage, my boy, Shantu, who I call Shantu, he was named by my daughter Angie, Shantu died, and I need you to check up on him and make sure he reached the other side, because I got a cold draft when I got home, this is April, okay? So, and the windows are not open. I got a cold draft just come wash over me. I thought, oh no. So I called up my friend and he says, I'll get right on it. So he made a fire out in the back, and he did what he had to do back home in Ontario, Canada, and meanwhile I'm still stuck in Michigan. So all this is done in the language, as the book chapters are written in the language, and many other places in the book where the language is written out, and the reader won't be lost. He or she will be able to follow, okay, because it's just the way I've written it, that I don't want to lose people. But I also want to use my language that can express the grief that the English language cannot,
Yep.
So, and the cultural component that comes with that language. So the book is an open testament to that culture,
Okay.
and the values that we have.
That kind of leads me to the memoir then. Once again, it's called When My Son Died by Kenn Pitawanakwat. I mean, a lot of this, it says right on the back, it's their secrets are disclosed, it's very personal. When did it cross the point? A book is very not personal. It's a public thing. When did it cross the point of becoming something that you're doing for yourself, for your family, for your son, to where you're putting it out in the public?
I was doing it for my son. I was doing
Okay.
it for, and I didn't care who knew about me and all my flaws.
Yep.
I didn't care, not one bit, and I still don't.
So you wrote this book and you put it out there for your son.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right. And it just turned out into a book. So I started off with maybe 5 pages the first day, and it's all written in the first person. I'm an academic. It's not written in an academic forum. I could have easily done that, but the other thing I noticed, Mitch, is this is post or during the writing process. I went to a major bookstore,
Yep.
and there's no books on Anishinaabe grief.
None?
There was one little pamphlet about 3 pages long, and it's all very academic, written by some PhD, which is fine.
Mm-hmm.
And they're talking academic. I don't see how that can help anybody. And then if you look at the rest of the shelf, which was like the totality of the books in that section on family and grief, I think it's called, was about half a shelf long, like that, and it's all written from a white Western colonial perspective, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. And again, I talk about that in the book. Grief is grief, but what we don't have is cultural grief or Anishinaabe grief, and that's probably somehow, somewhere, that became evident to me that there's a need for this type of writing to be out there. So we'll see how far it goes, but I wrote it to my boy, and I didn't care. It was for my own sanity, because I was going insane.
I see.
And I just want to hold it together.
All right, I can see how it all comes together, and I definitely think. Well, I was talking to Joe Schutte about the OCC classes that it has coming up, because they're going to teach. They're going to have some kind of, like you taught Native American experience in Northern. Mm-hmm. They have a new class this year at the OCC where it's going to be kind of like Native culture and local history, and they're hoping to get everybody, non-tribal members and everything, because this is life. Everybody has their own view on it. The more views that you have, the more you learn. And right here, like you said, you joined a club involuntarily. And for you to let your journey be published in a way like this, it's going to help many people learn and deal with not just even the tragedy that you dealt with, but just how you deal with life as it comes at you. Because it's never, you can't really pre-order your life. You can't call ahead and say, hey, I want to be rich and whatever. What happens, happens. And the way that we react to it is what makes us who we are.
It's changed me forever. I can never be who I was, whatever I was before. And I don't know what I'm going to be tomorrow if I'm here tomorrow. But what I am today is, I like to say, a softer, gentler human being for all of humanity, for everyone. And it doesn't matter what color you are, or church or synagogue or mosque or lodge you go to. I don't care. Because someday we're all going to weep in one way or another, whether it's over a pet. Yeah. A lot of us go through that, and I did.
The Packers lost the Lions the other week.
Oh, there you go. That's a weeper right there.
Kenn Pitawanakwat in the studio with us. His memoir, once again, When My Son Died. The website, KennPitawanakwat.com. KENNPITAWANAKWAT. And we'll post that page to our Facebook page so you can check out the memoir. And I'm just urging everybody to check this out. I mean, I've known Kenn in his personal life here for the last... coming up on a decade now, even. Mm-hmm. So it's just been, I've even been able to notice some of the different character aspects that you have, I guess, and it just by that, it kind of makes me appreciate things more too. Mm-hmm. I lost my dad a few years back, and I feel like I learned some things from that, but then when you talk about your guys' past relationship and some of the things you wish you would have said, mm-hmm. It makes me look back and think, yeah, there's probably some things I wish I would have said too. Mm-hmm. So it's the fear. You got to be able to approach those beasts, I guess you can say. So to Miigwech, Kenn, for being here. Will you want to stay in the studio and hang out with us? I mean, you came all the way down from, what was it, Kingfisher Lake?
Yes. Thank you. Happy to be here. Happy to be here talking about this. I want to thank you, first of all, Mitch, for, I think you and Indigenous Insights and KBOCC, I'll name everyone, have been the biggest supporters of my work over the years, whether it was language and culture, now the book, When My Son Died. You've been there. So I think that needs a nod at the minimum.
Well, it's our pleasure.
I just want to say Miigwech for that.
Our pleasure. Well, we're paying some good powwow tunes. How about it?
Now.
How about a sneak up? I know you know how to do a good sneak up, huh?
Oh, Bolo.
This is Indigenous Insights.
I will stay for the ice to break. Oh, I will stay for the rivers to run. I said I will stay for the dawn to take. And I will stay for the spring to come. For the spring to come. For the spring to come.
Well, I will sing to free the lake. I will sing, oh, for the rain to run, yeah. I will sing, oh, for the sea to wake. Oh, I will sing, yeah, for the spring to come. Oh, yeah.
For the spring to come. For the spring to come.
Oh, I had a dream about spring coming right along. Oh, about a nice way to ask her for a song. So I asked the mountain if she might want to move me. She said, tell the rivers to wake up the lake. See, rivers take it from sky into home base. And yellow-belly hawks know how to kill taste. Singing for the spring is like kissing pretty things. And changes like fire, changes like wings. Birch bark and maple and seas of black hair. Sing, raven, sing, show, Shona, fill the air.
All right, some digging roots for you right here on Indigenous Insights. What'd you think of that one, gentlemen?
I liked it.
I've met Digging Roots. They are awesome. A husband and wife team. They can rip those blues.
Was they
no
husband and
kidding.
wife?
Yes, they are.
Oh, cool. They were up in Marquette that time, right?
Yes, they were.
Very cool, very cool. Kenn Pitawanakwat still in the studio with us, and now Joe Schutte.
Hey,
Welcome back to the show.
Thank you.
How's your New Year's?
it was good. It was
Good?
real good. Yep. Did a lot of stuff with family, both sides, and now we're ready to move on and take on the new year.
That's right, 2016. It's here. 2015 went by quick.
Yeah, way too quick, and I can't decide it's because I'm getting older and things move faster, or it was just that exciting.
Let's go with the second one.
Yeah, really.
2016 is going to be exciting too. OCC is going to be
Right, we're
starting up
starting our
classes
spring
here.
semester.
That's right.
Next Monday.
Monday. That's a couple days from now.
Right. A lot of great things going on there too. We've got a new program in there with Indian Studies, the Anishinaabe Studies, and it's being taught by Denise Ketto. And the course examines the Anishinaabe values and worldviews, how they're expressed and how they have both remained consistent and changed from ancient through modern times. So she's introducing a variety of worldviews among Native groups with an emphasis on commonalities.
Okay.
Weekly assignments provide practical application of ideals common to most Anishinaabe traditions. So she says that the assignments will be primarily hands-on, and experimental activities include attending ceremonies or sweat lodges, participating in sugaring or winter powwow, getting involved in activities that help meet the needs of the community. So that's our big new associate's degree that we're going to be offering then, which
cool.
is really nice. I mean, considering who we are,
Yep.
we are the Ojibwa Community College. We've worked hard to get the accreditation for this, and Denise has worked very hard to get the accreditation for that. So, congratulations to her and to the college that we can now offer this. I mean, it's a great opportunity for people within this tribe on this, reservation to be able to not just, I know they're learning at their elders' knees.
Yep.
But this gives them a more practical view of how things happen.
Yep.
And so, and they can take the two and they can weigh them against each other and make their own decisions, how they want to move forward with their lives.
Absolutely.
And I don't think that's just an Anishinaabe thing. I think that's good for all of us.
The more views we have.
Right. And I think it wouldn't hurt people that aren't members of the tribe to participate in these classes. Take them. Learn about your neighbor. Sometimes your cousins, your in-laws, or whatever,
And that's local history.
Because teaching helps us understand things that are different that we want to lash out against if it's different from what we do. I grew up on this reservation, and I've seen there have been good times and bad, and I've seen people do both, lash out and embrace. And we've discovered that as children, you don't have those feelings of embattlement instilled in you until you reach a certain age when your elders and your friends and those older than you teach them to you.
Yep.
So let's not teach them those things. Let's teach them what's good and true and pure about what's going on around us.
Absolutely,
so
absolutely.
I think that's a great thing to take into the world with you. Whether you take the classes or you learn from your family or whatever. So that's our big push this semester. We're also going to have organic farming and gardening with
Awesome.
Denise Marshall, and that's the pair program. And then we have a new food and nutrition and human health and teacher, Lynn Davis, and she's going to teach a variety of the word is, she's doing it's hard to explain. She's taking the more scientific end of the food that I'm teaching.
Yep.
And she's teaching more about how it works. What gets it to that point. What's not good for you? What is good for you? What happens if you alter it in any way? Anything from, distilling oils for treatments to just why this food is better for you than that food is.
Okay, so it's like the science of food.
Exactly. She's been a scientist, and she's been involved in organically grown oils. That's where she brings her expertise from.
Wow.
So we're excited to have her. We'll also have website design, which would probably be a good class for me to take. And then that course itself is actually designed to be equivalent to NMU's course of the same name.
Okay.
So if you take, and we're working hard to be able to take all of our courses, and you'll be able to carry that class with you and not have to take it again at Northern or Tech or LSSU or my alma mater, Michigan State. It's getting better and better. Our teaching has become better and better, so that when we give you the skills and you take them to another school to finish a bachelor's or whatever, you don't have to take it over. Who wants to do that?
I mean, that's such a great benefit of having the community college.
That's the whole point of being here. Why learn it here and then find out it's not good enough?
Yeah.
We don't want that, and we're not doing that.
Okay, so classes start on Monday, but
Yes.
you were saying that you could still sign up.
Yes, you can sign up all the way through next week.
All the way through next week.
Yes,
Okay,
through
so
next Friday, and we encourage it.
Oh, absolutely.
You can never have enough students. I mean, we'll open up another section, if that's what it takes.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
our rates are good.
Well, I know rates are good for your class because you're always serving food and whatnot. You got the culinary classes this semester again?
That's an added benefit. Yes, I've got the intro to meats and breads.
Oh,
And actually, I've struck up a nice partnership with an organization through Spartan Foods.
Spartan.
That is going to provide us with most of the meat.
Oh, very
for the
good.
Classes. So that way we were able to reduce the student fee, because the student fee was kind of prohibitive. It was $150, and that's how we get all our food.
Oh, very good. All right. So we're going to take a quick break here, getting back to some more music. When we come back, Kenn's in the studio with us still. We'll talk with Joe a little bit about your specific courses you're going to be teaching this semester. And then I think I have kind of a fun little game plan for you. You ever watch Food Network?
Oh, yeah.
You see Chopped?
Yep.
Well, I'm gonna throw some Chopped style questions your way. We're not gonna have you cook anything in the studio. I'm not hungry yet, but we'll just ask you some questions. And then also, I think we're gonna be looking forward to a language segment from Kenn.
Will do.
We'll do. We'll try to tie it all into the cooking and culinary and everything like that. Sound good?
Great.
Now.
All right, let's get back into the music. This one's from a native blues group. They're called Indigenous, right here on Indigenous Insights.
This is Eagle Country 105.7 WCUPFM, Baraga, Houghton, Hancock. You're listening to Indigenous Insights, Eagle Radio's weekly Native American program. All genres, all Native. Eagle Radio is owned and operated by the Keweenaw Indian community. Now, back to Indigenous Insights.
Belly.
Yeah. All right, there's some Indigenous for you. This is Mitch in the studio with you here on Eagle Radio's weekly Native American program. We have Joe Schutte in the studio with us still.
Hello.
Kenn Pitawanakwat's in the studio with us still.
Now, Miigwech.
And Ronnie's here with his belly now, eh?
Howdy.
Right now we're talking about the OCC's upcoming semester. It starts Monday, Joe.
Yeah.
And there's some great classes coming up, and they all sound amazing. But I want to be a little bit selfish here and talk about your classes.
No, I love selfish. That works for me.
I love talking about your classes.
I've got 2 classes this semester. One I've already taught, so it's going to be a lot of the same. And it's teaching the meats and some breads. We'll do some proteins like, poultry, fish, beef, pork, the other white meat.
Okay, just to get the information out there for any prospective students, what is the course titles if they were to go to the OCC?
Oh, you got to ask me that. Well, it's
the food class.
The food class is FN 102.
Okay.
Okay, and then the other class that I'm teaching, which is actually an intro to management and restaurant management, that's FN 202.
Oh, very good. So it's teaching to the business side of it too.
Yes.
Very good. Okay.
So, but the first class is that we're going to learn how to cook meats, how to the different ways you can do them. We're also going to learn about nutrition of these meats, the values of them on the market, how that's changing, especially with beef. We're also going to focus, towards the end of the semester, I like to focus on local recipes, especially Ojibwe recipes here. We like to incorporate.
Very good.
And we're going to talk a little bit about that, of course, with the language aspect of it. So we like to incorporate all those in as well. And so then I'll throw in at least one yeast bread. We'll probably work on a baguette type of thing, a French bread type of thing. And then we'll also work on the sides that best work with these types of meats and everything. We also have a great new partnership with Spartan Foods that is getting us, enabling us to reduce the cost to the student for their food costs for the class. What used to be $150 is now $100. And so we've been able to do that by this group is going to give us most of the meat that we need for the classes to cook, which is a godsend because the class is expensive enough when you're taking a 2 or 3 credit course, even at the rates that we have now. But then you add another $150 charge on top of that in a book. It gets pricey.
Yeah.
And so, we want to do what we can to make these classes available and, as affordable as we can. So I'm really happy about that. I'm glad that we worked that out. And I have to give a shout out to my sister because she works for Spartan Foods and she's the one that arranged this for us. So
there you go.
Thank you, Susie. I appreciate that
very,
very much. My second class is going to actually be an intro to management, to restaurant management. We're going to do that class and we're going to kind of touch on all the aspects from opening the door to finishing the inventory. And we're not going to delve deeply into each part of it, but we're going to give them an overview of what it takes to be a manager, an assistant manager. Not only the front end of the restaurant where you have all the your people are eating, your waitresses are out there, your wait staff. We're also going to talk about the back office, which is the billing and the food costs. We'll also talk about managing your food, your servers, your cooks, your everybody that's involved there, and we're going to kind of work that into. We're going to try and show them how they're going to be working and how they have to manage people.
Yeah.
Not just the people that are working for them, but the people that they're serving. So I mean, if someone has a problem with their meal, you have to learn how to deal with that person. What are you willing to give up to keep them as a customer? When are you willing to let that person go? Because sometimes people, you can't talk to them. Period.
Customer wins, huh?
Yeah, and I've always been taught, my mother had a business, that the customer is always right. But sometimes the customer, you have to learn when to cut loose. And you also have to learn when to cut loose. You want to keep as many employees as you can. You want to work with them, teach them. But at some point, if they don't want to learn or they're unwilling to learn, you also have to learn when to let go of them as well. It's a very hard lesson, and I have personal experience on both sides of that stick. So that's going to be our other class. So I'll have 2 classes going this semester.
Very cool.
And I'm looking forward to teaching them both. I haven't taught the intro class before. This is first time for that class.
Yeah, that management stuff, I'm assuming, I don't know anything about the restaurant business, but I'm assuming that's where a lot of first-time restaurant owners get into trouble. That stuff that's in the back where they have to deal with the business and stuff. It is.
And a lot of people, if they haven't taken classes at school for it already, they buy a business. I'm going to run a restaurant. I'm going to own a restaurant.
I can make good food.
Parlor. Yeah, I can make good food. But if you don't know how to deal with people, if you don't know how to buy food, if you don't know how to manage your costs, keep an eye on the books. Your inventory is a huge problem because if you have too large of a menu, you have to keep so much stuff in inventory, and then you start dealing with waste.
Yeah.
If you think this recipe is great, you put it on the menu, nobody orders it, but you got a third of your freezer is devoted to it, and nobody buys it. You end up throwing out good food. You lose money on other things. You lose money on time.
Yeah.
And
always.
and things you could have been using that money for in a better way.
Very cool. What a great
for.
class. So once again, classes do start on Monday, but people can still register for classes
Yes, all the way through the end of next week.
All the way up through next week. The KBOCC has a Facebook page.
They do.
They have, what's their website?
Their website is www.kbocc.edu.
That's what I thought it was. I didn't want to guess, though. Okay, so very cool. Joe, we're going to keep you in the studio here just a little bit longer. I have kind of a fun thing planned for you. It's going to be a good way for you to show us your skills when it comes to. You said I was gonna tell you what I was gonna do during the break here, so you kind of had a warning. But after talking with you now, I'm gonna throw you right into it when we come back here. Let's get back into the music here on Indigenous Insights. Ken, I know you like this guy. This is Billy Joe Green. Some native blues for you. All right, some Billy Joe Green here on Indigenous Insights. Native blues, all this segment. Oof, keeping my toe tapping.
Borro Billy Joe. Borro.
You know Billy Joe Green or what?
Actually, we've exchanged emails way back, but we've never met. But I've seen him on the tube, and he's just phenomenal. He's from Northwestern Ontario, Canada.
Way up north.
Yes.
The Great White North.
All right, so Joe Schutte and Kenn Pitawanakwat are still in the studio with me. And Joe, it's time to have a little bit of fun here. Well, I hope it's fun for you.
Yeah, no, I'm getting worried.
It's, I mentioned Chopped earlier. You know, on Chopped,
Yeah.
they get the ingredients in a basket they don't know about, and they have to produce a meal from it.
Yes.
I'm going to do the same thing for you. It's going to be our DDP Chopped.
Okay.
The act of chopping up a vegetable, how do you say that in Nish?
10,000 ways.
Just one quick little...
Shigadad.
Shagadan. This is
Shigadad is more like a crush, though.
Okay.
Bisquadan is like mince meat.
That'd be close.
There we go. Miskadan.
Bisquadan.
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 That's the name of the Nish version of Chopped. Bisquadan. One thing that I heard doing the DDP, which is the decolonizing diet, back in the day, my grandma, they used to have beaver tail. They would take a beaver tail, throw it into a fire, char it up, peel it, eat it. That's the old, it's just a quick snack. Now, you're a culinary guy, so how would you take a beaver tail and prepare it, and what do you think you would serve it as? How would you serve it?
No, I've had beaver.
Okay.
My cousins have brought it to my grandmother, and she cooked it and everything.
Beaver meat's delicious. That's easy, though, huh?
What I think I might do with the tail, which sounds we could do it, was we'd score it. I would score it, and I would dredge it in a buttermilk dredge with flour and buttermilk and eggs. I'd deep fry it.
Deep fry it?
Yeah.
Never go wrong with deep frying.
That would be great. I think it would have a nice crispy consistency, and you'd have the crunch of the batter as well as the crunch of the tail. But I think that at that point, the tail would probably dissolve a little bit better, having that flash heat coming through. So I think that's what I'd do with it.
Okay.
Maybe have a dipping sauce to go with it.
There you go. Well, what kind of dipping sauce? You're on Bisquadan Chop now. $1 million on the line.
I would go with a cranberry dipping sauce.
That's also DDP. Perfect answer.
I actually got my taste of DDP this last fall, and very interesting. It's a whole new world of in a concept of what you have available to cook with. All of it being before this area, the Great Lakes area, was colonized. And I didn't realize how much change in just 500 years from that has gone through in our eating process. And when I looked at a lot, we did buffalo, we did bison, we did a bison meatloaf. We used a lot of maple syrup for our sweetening in there. And the one that really blew me away, and I can't say that I enjoyed it, was the cattail roots.
Cattail roots.
Yeah. High in zinc, I think they told me, and some other nutrients that were available back then that you didn't know. They just knew that they needed it.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's how they got it. But far from being tasty.
Pushquet. That's what you're talking about, Joe.
Okay.
Pushquet. That's that root on the cattail?
Chibik is the root.
Okay. So the cattail, let's make that the next one. The first question was kind of easy. Well, no, you got it pretty easy, I guess. The second one is something that you actually don't even like yourself. What would you do if you had cattail in a box? How would you prepare that as part of a meal? Because I think when you ate it, you just had it as kind of a snack too, right?
I'd add that into a dressing.
A dressing?
Yeah, I'd take a whole wheat dressing. Dry out the whole wheat, maybe some, and then take the cattail. Still put them on the coals.
Yeah.
And char them, and then pound that out, and then add that in with eggs, duck eggs, even.
Yeah.
And with some other seasonings, local seasonings, maybe a little bit of maple syrup, just to cut the bitterness of it.
Yeah.
Stuff that into a turkey or a duck or whatever. I think that'd make a great. That way I can see us doing it using.
I'd eat that.
Local nuts.
Yeah.
From the area, there are a lot of
pecans
and walnuts, and they're.
Hazelnuts.
Hazelnuts. Yeah. And I think you could do that. I think that would turn out fine.
I'd eat it.
Yeah. And I love dressing.
Okay.
Not supposed to have it, but I love it.
So then this is the last one. This is the final question for $1 million. And this I read an article, and the name of the article is Guts and Grease.
Ooh. And
I read that back in the day that the men, they would take the intestine of a deer and they would just kind of spin it up, and that's what they'd eat for their meal. So in your chopped, bisquadan? Mm-hmm. In your box, it's just going to be deer intestine. I mean, intestines are eaten all over the place. What would you do with a deer intestine?
Well, the first thing that comes to mind, and probably the easy way out, would be to use it as the outside of a sausage.
Yeah.
Do something like haggis, like the Scots do. But then, that would be a great way to keep everything together. Any kind of meat, grind the meat in some fashion. I would still add the cattail root to
Okay.
that.
Okay.
A little bit of the maple syrup, add some more crushed or pasted nuts that are in a paste, like a butter type of thing. Mix those all together, season them, and then stuff them into the intestine, and I think I would boil that.
Boil it?
Yeah.
I think that's what they did. They used to boil it and eat it back in the day.
I've actually seen this done.
Oh, yeah?
Where I live right now with my wife Lorraine, northwestern Ontario, 500 miles north of Thunder Bay Flying Community, where the community takes moose guts in this case and just clean them out and just prepare them. And at the same time, they're teaching the younger generations with preparation and what to do with them and how to properly care for them so that they don't go bad. And it's just phenomenal. So I'm encouraged to see our young people still carrying on and learning the traditional ways that most people would just turn
Right.
Very
away
cool.
from,
Yeah, very cool.
Well, Marty Reinhardt opened up a lot of eyes in that little seminar that we had that day where our class helped. We're given recipes that we followed. And I was really amazed how contemporarily some of these recipes weren't much different than what we're doing now. The ingredients may be a little different in the fact that for the sugar we use the maple syrup, use duck and wild turkey as opposed to the domesticated.
Yeah.
Not that much different. I think the only real missing thing would have been a grain.
Yeah.
There wasn't a lot of grain in it, not a lot of wheat or anything like that. But
Just the wild rice. Wild
just
rice is actually
the wild
grain,
rice
right?
is actually a great nutritious value for adding to a meal.
Is that what is wild rice is not actually rice, it is
No,
grain?
It's a grain.
Okay, it is a grain.
It's an actual grain. It's more of a wheat, actually a grass is what it is more than it is a rice.
And that'd be about the only grain that they'd have back then, right?
Yeah, probably
I think,
around here.
Of all of them that I've read about.
Manoman,
yeah.
Yeah, they'd have to go further west, probably for that, for grains, and that would have been corn. More likely than not. As you went more towards the southwest, I would think. Not sure.
Very cool.
We had wild rice in what they call southwestern Ontario, southeastern Ontario, central Ontario.
Okay.
Actually, that's why we have a rice lake.
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah. Okay, very cool. So I think. What do you think? You think he passed? I'd have you as
very well. I would bring him on board, Mitch.
Yeah, I'd eat all those. I'd
His
stick all that in
entry
my mouth.
fee would be something like a homemade sausage with that intestine.
Yeah, I think that actually.
like
I mean,
that.
I think it'd be cool to get you up in that community with those OG Crees up there because they're doing it all traditional style, and you could come up and show them how you would do it. Culinary.
Well, I would love to learn just the old ways that you're talking about and what we did in DDP, because it's part of it that I don't think I'm Irish and French and a few other oddball things, so we don't have that tradition. Like when I was talking to a couple friends of mine, there's a whole ritual that I never knew and was involved in harvesting, especially, and the way I learned about it was maple syrup, and through Jerry Jandro.
Yep.
Telling me about how you asked for permission from the maple trees to tap them. It was a whole almost religious type of experience. We don't have that in my traditions, and I think it's kind of a cool thing. I think
It's common back home where I come from. I'm lucky enough to have grown up in a maple syrup community, if you will, where sema, which is tobacco, is offered to the grove, to the tree, and then during the entire process as you're boiling it, where you're taking 100 gallons and you end up with 2 gallons of syrup or sugar, whatever the case may be. So there's a lot of respect. So that's what we're talking about over here. It's respect plus utilitarian, because yes, you better give thanks for today because tomorrow may not be there.
Right.
You better appreciate that creature or that sap today because it may not be here tomorrow or may refuse to give or show itself.
Right.
Well, and appreciation too, then.
Right, and I mean, from a Christian standpoint, we do say grace, and that's thanks for what's there already, and I don't think it's unreasonable to kind of take that a little further backwards,
I have a cousin who can smell a deer if they're in the area. I know many Nishnabs, Native Americans like that, who can talk to the moose, the deer, the moose, beaver in the language, and they will listen. Only in the language, though. You try English, it's not going to happen.
Right.
Only in the language. So that's why the language is vital, communicating with our brothers and sisters, the four-legged, the wings,
Yep.
and the finned.
Everything comes down to
Absolutely.
be connected. And that's kind of what we're going to do here with our next segment coming up. We're going to have a language segment with Kenn, and we're going to kind of join it with everything you've been talking about, Joe. And we're going to, because you want to try to get more language in your classroom
Yes,
and
we're
stuff.
trying to
So
incorporate that into the
we're going to try to
classes.
work, we'll just talk it out. We're going to work some of the different things that Joe might be doing in the kitchen, stirring, chopping, and then also some of the insight that you might have from being in your maple syrup community and everything. So we'll have a language segment coming up.
Yeah.
Can't believe we
Awesome.
got Kenn in the studio. What a show, huh?
A great show.
All right, let's get back into the music here on Indigenous.
Discovered Columbus lost, found him in the backyard of the people's paradise. A beautiful people he wrote to the queen across the ocean that make good slaves. People of the land were tired of giving him their gold, so he cut off their hands. Who are you? Who am I, my friend? Discover how to heal this land. Truth is yours and mine, America. Discovering America. Refugees came from Europe seeking shelter and some land, and the people of the land gave a hand. And terrorists became heroes on the movie screens, and the savages died in the sand. And now I'm living on a reservation, discovering who I am, a native or Uncle Sam's. Who are you? Who am I, my friend? Discover how to heal this land. Truth is yours and mine, America. Discovering America. Discovering America, home of the free and land of the brave. At least that's what some say, but it's time for a change. Now I'm living on a reservation, discovering who I am, discovering America. Discovering America. Discovering America. all gonna end. People can get along in peace and harmony, but only if they are allowed to be free. They're taking people away from their native land to live in some place that they'll never understand. I got the big mountain blues, never gonna leave this place. I'm gonna stay right here where my ancestors are in their graves. They're taking the land of the Seneca and the Sioux, that is the Cheyenne and the Chippewas too. Well, now it's the Navajo land that's at stake. Pray to the Creator who really owns the Cherry. I got the big mountain blues, never gonna leave this place. I'm gonna stay right here till they put me in my grave. Peabody Coal and uranium crew, they are the cause of all of these blues. They're gonna dig big holes all in the ground, and they don't want no Indians just hanging around. I got the big mountain blues, never gonna leave this place. I'm gonna stay right here till they lay me in my grave.
All right, this is Indigenous Insights on Eagle Country 105.7. Miigwech for tuning in here with us on this Saturday. Just a reminder, you can find us on facebook.com/iiradio. We're also streaming from keepitinthe.up.com, and we have a YouTube channel now. Please subscribe to that. We're attempting to get more video here, but we have 4 cameras. 2 of them don't work. One of them doesn't have a wire yet.
Just a few technical difficulties, that's all.
But the Indigenous Insights video is we're going to get it up and running here. Miigwech to Joe Schutte and Kenn Pitawanakwat for being here today, because
Thank you for having me.
It's a little hectic in here. The first time we've had such a show like this.
That's what makes it fun. Nishin. It means it's good.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun so far. And this is the segment I've been looking forward to. We're going to have a little bit of language, and we're going to mix basically what Kenn's been here to talk about and what Joe's been here to talk about. Kenn's here representing that wisdom, the culture, and he's from where is it? 500 miles north of Thunder Bay.
Well, that's where I live with my beautiful wife Lorraine right now. But she's a principal in the local K-8 school there. So I'm from Miigwech.
Oh yeah, over there, right?
Manitoulin Island, Ontario,
but
which is like just east of the Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario.
So you're actually a little bit south of us here, aren't you?
We're at the same. Could be just a couple miles.
So, but the community you're at right now, me and Joe were talking about all this culinary stuff and working in Ojibwe foods, but up north in this community you're in, they're actually pulling moose apart and getting the intestines out and whatnot.
The beautiful part is the sharing. I just can't say enough about that,
So they have that cultural part of it. It's not just eating a meal, they're coming together.
The whole community comes to, for example, the backyard of the school, and where the elders, the ladies, and whomever, all the volunteers, and there's all volunteer, is chopping up the meat, and they distribute it. Come and get it, everyone. It goes out to the community, and it's across the local radio station where everyone speaks the language. Biwi snick, biwi snick, biwi snick. Come and eat, come and eat, come and eat. Binadik,
Awesome.
binadik, come and get it. Mos, wias, mos, which is where moose comes from. Mozo. So mozo means to snuggle dig with their snout as the moose does for those cattail worms we were talking about earlier. So people bring huge boxes, bags, containers, you name it, pile onto their back of their pickup trucks, and people take it home, and it's all free. And at the same time, people are in there elbow deep into the blood, into the gore, and the meat, and it's all just chopped up. They use axes, they use saws, they use knives, anything to get the job done as quick as possible. And I've been lucky to have been a part of that, and because I didn't see this when I was growing up. Certainly, I saw deer being shared, wawashkish for deer, being shared, and certainly I saw the kudden of that deer, which is the liver, kudden, being shared with the community and at home, and that used to be my favorite part. But I don't know if I'd be so eager these days with the environment the way it is. But the sharing again was if we went out together. You share the bounty with your partner, and so 2 families minimum get to eat and take part in this harvesting. So it's phenomenal to watch. The respect, that's respect of the animal, who we like to call in English our brother or sister, but it doesn't have the ring or spirit attached to it. Nita is either my cousin or my relative. So we are all related in this great circle of life, and one is not above the other. So we need teaching in that. I was out in the minus 40. The ice is 4 feet thick, folks. 4 feet thick. I was out ice fishing last winter, this time of year, and I almost lost my little pinky because of frostbite, but all in like 5 minutes because of brutal wind, and it's 4 feet thick. Let me say this first again. And you're out in the middle of a lake without the benefit of a shelter. You're just there, and I was there with my two little lines, and I brought home. That's the first time I've been fishing in such an environment where it's just blue skies, white ice, white lake is just shimmering, and the north wind is just freezing, frigid, cold. Just sees you by the. You're just. You're there. You better know what you're doing. So you better know, and you better give thanks, and you better know how to fish, and you better know how to get that ice out of those 4-foot holes, because that ice will start to freeze over in 2 minutes again. So you always have to have a scoop there. Yeah. So just yank that ice out. Meanwhile, the wind is just blowing. Meanwhile, it's the blue skies. Yeah. It's fantastic.
So you can see why they have such an appreciation for the food that they get. I like how they have the meals up there, and it's just they don't bring the culture in; they just live it. I mean, they must be cut off. I mean, there's no roads and stuff, so they get to just keep their customs and their culture. And here we are at the OCC trying to bring it in.
Right.
So I like how that's what we need for it to be here, just natural. I mean, it's just supposed to happen. So I want to ask Joe: is there anything that you want to ask of Kenn here? I mean, we had
talked a little earlier, and there's things that I like to incorporate into the teaching of the class, and I'm trying to help everybody, not just the Native American students, but everybody to get a taste of what it was like, what the recipes. But we talked about associating actions in the kitchen with the Ojibwe language, and so you were telling me about I think it was sautéing that we had talked about, that there's a couple, what'd you say, 10,000 ways to say it, but literally, but there are kind of more specific ways to say it to in that particular case, or
it's still 10,000 ways.
Still 10,000 ways.
All context and whatnot.
Yes.
So so in that context of being in the kitchen, how would we say it? Sautéing or cooking fast is what sautéing is.
Cooking fast?
Yeah.
Oh, geez. Again, that's a Western concept, isn't it?
Yeah.
But in a survival context, if you're out there in the woods, I was talking about the fish earlier, I was talking about the meat earlier.
Exactly.
So you better cook fast. So, jitad is before any of this saute happens.
Okay.
Jitad comes with it or beforehand. Jitad means get ready, prepare. So you better have a fire going or know how to get it going fast in the wind under 10 feet of snow, whatever the case may be.
Right.
So jitad or mando niged.
Have to come up with
Get it all together.
Yeah.
Get it all together. Whatever the case may be. Mando niged.
so that could be like what you start class with. As soon as you walk into class
Right.
and it's time to get working on a meal, that could be like, let's get going.
Because that's exactly when we talk about time management. You have to have all your ingredients out and ready and measured before you
There you
even
go.
start doing anything.
There you go.
So if you're an instructor, Joe, and you tell the class, so this is the context of to a group. Mando niged, the one I just illustrated, is basically 1-to-1. Mando nigek is plural.
Okay.
Mando nigek
Mondonagek.
is plural. So it's 1 to plural.
Okay.
It doesn't matter if it's 2 or 2,000 people.
Okay.
So mando nigek, again with jitak. Prepare. Again, it's plural. Group
Okay.
to a group.
Mondonagek. Jikok.
Jitak, yes.
Jitak.
And it doesn't really matter which one you say first.
Oh.
The rule of thumb is you say first what you want to stress first to whomever or whatever the situation might be. So, mando neged, jitak. Yo, hamba. You know, hamba.
Mondonagek. Jitok.
Hamba. Let's go. Hamba.
Okay, so I want to get into. I want to hear a specific cooking one too. Say you got a frying pan, the fire's going hot, and you're flipping it in there. You know how they flip the pans? They look all cool. How do you think you'd say? You know, you had a frying pan, and the guys they get it and they look all cool and they flip it like that. How do you think you'd say that flipping motion?
Geez, it depends what we're flipping. Again, it matters. Again, there's the 20,000 factor comes into it.
The pan, I guess.
Aboji Gdudden. That's not totally correct, but it comes close. Aboji means the underside shall come to the top side now, or vice versa.
Okay.
Aboji
That would
Gdudden.
be it, yeah.
Aboji Gdudden.
Aboji Gdudden.
Whatever the case may be. It could be
Yeah.
a pancake, could be a crepe, could be a
Well, you know,
Yeah,
piece of steak.
Yeah.
he might be walking around class and saying it to a few different people, a few different things. So that's kind of a
right.
broad command.
Right. It's a broad command, sure.
Yes.
So,
Aboji Gdudden.
Yeah, that's one way. Wekenen is more of a less direct way. It also means flip over. Gwekenen.
Gwek?
That's gwek. Yes, that is correct. The root there is
Straight.
but it's also the straight way of cooking this crepe or piece of meat is you got to flip it.
Oh, okay.
If it needs flipping, if that's
Okay,
the case.
okay.
Gwekenen.
Get done?
Gwekenen. So it all depends on the context. Abot Sidon. Again, it's flipping over. Abot Sidon. So flip over again.
Okay.
So
It's the action, and it's the action of it. See, I mean, because niche is all verbs, just about, right?
it is all verbs. You know, when we're talking about language instruction, they like to use the colonial concept of nouns, verbs,
Yeah.
and so forth.
Yeah.
That for the purposes of instruction, that'll work. But in reality, there aren't any nouns in the Anishinaabe language. They're all verbs.
So I'm asking them, you know, how to say flip it, but there's no it.
There's no it.
Because
It's
it is
just-
a noun.
It's
Okay.
all verb.
Very
Okay.
cool. All right, so that's how was that? That's pretty good
Yeah,
language
that's
segment,
cool.
right?
Well, listen, let me just throw this in there.
All right.
Jibakweda.
Jibakweda.
So again, you as the instructor, Joe, would be saying to the class, group, whomever, wherever, let's cook. But if you take that root word apart, it means let's cook for the spirits. So in my case, let me cook for my son, who died almost 2 years ago now. and I published a book and written about it. It's called When My Son Died by Kenn Pitawanakwat. So I've been feeding him ever since day one. So I'm feeding him what they call the spirit, but he's actually not spirit as he not being here, but he's actually here, but not the way me and you are facing each other here.
Right,
today.
not physically.
Not physically. So he's here with me all the time. So jibakweda is let's feed the spirit. So you got to be careful where you go with this, and when to use it, because in some communities they say, "Who died?"
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So menase kweda. Let's cook is a safe way of just saying let's cook.
Okay.
Yes, and yes. So we ask. You were talking about meat, different types of meats later, earlier. We ask is any type of baka kwen, which is chicken, mozo, baka kwen.
We ask, meanwhile.
Amik, we ask.
Kweshigan.
Meanwhile, kweshigan. Kweshigan keda. Paraphrase, let's make bread.
So meat and bread you're teaching, right?
Okay,
Yeah. So she tasadoda, let's prepare the class. All the ingredients we need, tools, she tasageda. That includes food, utensils, kitchen, people. So it's one tier group again. Again, it's plural. Now, we were talking about income, cash earlier.
Yeah.
We all
business
love
side.
cash. The business side. Jonya keda. So if you want to go out on the road and sell bjike wias, like cow meat, which is steak, you need to pay for this, for your meat, for your supplies, for your suppliers. So you need to make money to do this and carry it forth and sustain a restaurant or any business. So Shonyakeda is any business.
Shonyakeda. Okay, very cool, very cool.
Thank you.
I think we'll get you a copy of that. You can take it back to your class and all kinds of good phrases in there.
It's a teaching tool.
All right, so I think that's just about it for Joe in the studio with us. Joe, thanks for stopping by. We'll have you on next week. I'm locking you in right now. We'll talk about how your first week went.
Okay.
And then we'll also talk, because just another reminder, you can still register for classes all the way through next week.
Yes.
Okay, very good. Ken, you're going to stay with us for a little longer?
Absolutely. Thank you. Miigwech.
All right, Joe. Miigwech for being here. And have a great semester.
You too.
All right, let's get back into the music here on Indigenous.
Bye, 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 sweet girl. You've been hanging on way too long. Bye, 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 sweet girl. I hear some man has been doing you wrong. I hear you put up with all his lies. As the love you shared slowly dies. I hear you saying that it's okay, and that it's your fault you're going to stay. Bye, 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 sweet girl. Bye, 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 sweet girl. You've been hanging on way too long. Bye, 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 sweet girl. I hear some man has been doing you wrong. I hear you begged him to stop his drinking, since the bottle did all his thinking. friend.
This is Indigenous Insights on Eagle Country 105.7. This is your host, Mitch Miigwech, for tuning in here with me. I still have my co-host for the week in the studio, Ken.
Bonjour.
Thanks for being here with us. And we're in our last segment already.
Manda. Awesome. How can that be? Manda.
I'm telling you, I want a couple more hours on this show. So in this last segment, we have This Week in History coming up in just a little while here. I mean, we've had so much discussion here on this show. I feel like, do you want to just kick back and listen to some music? Stay tuned in. We're going to have This Week in History coming up in just a bit. Our co-host will read that for us. So let's get into the music.
For the lies that were spoken, for the blood we have spilled, for the treaties that were broken, for the leaders you have still. Custer died for your sin. Custer died for your sin. Now a new day must begin. Custer died for your sin. For the tribes you terminated, for the myth you keep alive, for the land you confiscated, for our freedom you deprive. Custer died for your sin. Custer died for your sin. Now a new day must begin. Custer died for your sin. Custer died for your sin. Custer died for your sin. Now a new day must begin. Custer died for your sin. For the truth that you pollute. For the life that you have cost, for the good you prostitute, and for all that we have lost. Custer died for your sin. Custer died for your sin. Now a new day must begin. Custer died for your sin. Custer died for your sin. Custer died for your sin. Now a new day must begin. Custer died for your sin. Custer died.
All right, this is Indigenous Insights on Eagle Country 105.7. This is your host, Mitch Miigwech, for being here with me. We're just about out of time. It's time for This Week in History, and we're going to send it over to my co-host for the week, Kenn Pitawanakwat.
Understanding the present by honoring our past. I speak with a big thick Indian accent. I don't know if anybody can understand this, Bolo, but let's hope for the best. This week in American Indian history, this week in 1802, President Thomas Jefferson believes that the Anishinaabe have more land than they need. No. He feels that if they become indebted at the government trade houses, they will sell their lands to pay their debts. Foolish Indians. He also voiced the opinion that if they become farmers, they will need less land. Oh, good idea. Less land. I like that. This week he will address the WEA, whomever that is, Potawatomi and Miami tribes. Oh, it must be a tribe. On some of the issues, Jefferson extols the virtues of renewable food and clothing supplies. He said, "We will pleasure furnish you with the implements for the most necessary arts, and with persons who may instruct you how to make and use them," unquote. And that's it.
Wow, you really sugar-coated that one, eh?
Oh, man. So that's what happened.
Yeah, there you go. That's the way they do. That's why they call it silver tongue, or what do they call it?
Yeah, forked tongue.
Forked tongue, all that kind of thing.
Yeah.
That was this week in
1802.
1802. See, that's what This Week in History is all about. Understanding the present by honoring our past. You know, we're talking about it. And that quote is good when applied to the memoir here. Understanding the present by honoring the past. You honor the past, you got to remember the past.
Yes.
And remember how it happened, and you have to have that honest kind of... The truth is not a variable, it's a constant. What happened, and you have to react to it.
Yes.
All right, so that's just about it, Ken. Miigwech for being here with us, and once again, check out Ken's memoir, When My Son Died, an absolutely incredible book here that Ken wrote about his journey. It's an unfortunate journey for Ken, but we're very fortunate that Ken has decided to share it in word form, because there's so much to learn here from this book. When My Son Died, Kenn Pitawanakwat. Ken, we wish you safe journeys back up north.
Thank you.
And send down some of those walleye you're catching up there.
Oh, 150 steps from my house. I cast my rod out.
Oh.
And there they are.
It's a Yooper dream.
And
that's a Yooper dream.
No DNR. That's the beauty of it.
No DNR?
No DNR.
Oh, man. All right, so check us out on Facebook, facebook.com/iiradio. We're streaming from keepitinthe.up.com. We also have a YouTube channel. Please subscribe to that. We're going to be putting up new video on there as soon as we can. We're trying to record today's show, but we had all kinds of technical malfunctions and whatnot. But I'm just glad I got Ken in the studio. We had Joe in the studio. Pretty cool. So everybody have a great week, and we'll talk to you next time on Indigenous Insights.
Miigwech. Awa pimino.
I was born on the rails, red, white, and blue. Things your mama gave to you. No, I was born on the res. I like a good powwow. Yeah, not a bad way to live. Look at me now. Yeah, look at me now. Yeah. Hey, now me and my brothers, we slept in the same bed. Head butt to butt and head to head. I never had a lot of money, but we had a lot of love, yeah. My mama taught me to pray to the spirit up above, 'cause I was born on the red, white, and blue, yeah. Never had the things that your daddy gave to you, no. Well, I was born on the res, I like a good powwow, yeah. Not a bad way to grow up, look at me now. Yeah, look at me now. Yeah, look at me now. My mama raised us all by herself. Hey, 5 little kids on an old dirt road all by herself, yeah. We took our baths in an old wash tub. Never had a lot of money, but we had a lot of love. Yeah, I was born on the red, white, and blue. Yeah. I never had the things that Santa Claus gave to you. No. Born on the res, I like like a good powwow. Yeah, not a bad way to grow up. Look at me now. Well, look at me now. Yeah, look at me now. Yeah, I never turned out so bad. Sam gave to you, no. I was born on the res, I like a good powwow. Don't you love a good powwow? Not a bad way to live. Just look at me now, look at me now. Hey, look at me now. Hey, look at me
You've been listening to Indigenous Insights, Eagle Radio's weekly Native American program, all genres, all Native. Indigenous Insights keeps you in touch with Indian country. To reach the hosts of Indigenous Insights, you can email iiradio@up.net. That's iiradio@up.net. You can also check them out on Facebook at facebook.com/iiradio. Tune in again next week for another edition of Indigenous Insights on Eagle Country 105.7.